Hello, welcome to Talking the Secret Doctrine. My name is Dr. Don Franklin Shepherd, and today we will be looking at the third stanza, slokas 5, 6, and 7, in the first volume of the Secret Doctrine, starting on page 68. Once again, we will be using the verbatim edition published by Theosophical University Press, located out at Pasadena, California. I want to look at these three stanzas and read them directly so that we can understand how, by this point in the Secret Doctrine, the first, second, and the third logos are in a direct relationship with the seventh layer of the mundane egg. So let's go ahead and look at sloka 5. The root remains, the light remains, the curds remain, and still Oiohu is one. So here we have the root being the first and second logoi. Here we have the light being the third logos. But it remains because while it tinctures Paramatman and goes away, its light remains in Paramatman, which then is the great central sun of the mundane egg. The curds remain. The curds are the nebula forming around the great central sun that both establish it and establish all of the other suns in any particular universal solar system. And still, Oiohu is one. That is, Oiohu is a quaternary at this point. He is the first three logoi, as well as the seventh layer of the mundane egg that is tinctured by the great breath, with the third logos as the tincturing head. Let's take a look at the commentary to see what H.P. Blavatsky says. Oiohu is rendered father, mother of the gods in the commentaries. Now notice she uses the term rendered. Oiohu is not the vibrating central point of father, mother. Oiohu is father, mother of the gods, meaning that Oiohu as the seventh is over the other six layers of the mundane egg. This is why H.P. Blavatsky writes 6 and 1, or the septenary root from which all proceeds. Down in the next part, H.P. Blavatsky continues. This refers to the non-separateness of all that lives and has its being, whether an active or a passive state. In one sense, Oiohu is the rootless root of all, hence one with Parabrahman. So in one sense, Oiohu is the first logos, the immaculate white disk. She continues. In another sense, it is a name for the manifested one life, the eternal living unity. So here, Oiohu is the fourth aspect of the first quaternary, the seventh layer of the mundane egg. H.P. Blavatsky often does this. On the one hand, she will be discussing the immaculate white disk as the first logos, in relation to the central point as the third logos. And in one sense, this third logos is the verbum, or the word. In another sense, she will often discuss Parabrahman, the first logos, the immaculate white disk, in relation to Paramatman, the seventh layer of the mundane egg. And in another sense, the seventh layer is the verbum, or the word. Oftentimes, H.P. Blavatsky mentions the fact that there are actually two different ways to view the verbum, or the word. These are the two different ways that she is often doing that. She continues on page 69. The light is the same omnipresent spiritual ray which has entered and now fecundated the divine egg and calls cosmic matter to begin its long series of differentiations. So the light is the third logos. It is on this ray. It tinctures the seventh layer of the mundane egg as Paramatman. This seventh layer, through those 6 layers below, begins to differentiate. Through Fohat, which hardens the atoms from the 7th, down into the 4th, and all the way down to the 1st. She continues, the curds are the first differentiation. That's because these curds are discussing the nebula around the great central sun, and probably refer also to that cosmic matter, which is supposed to be the origin of the Milky Way, the matter we know. That is differentiation going from the seventh layer around the great central sun all the way down to the Shtul Sharira that we see around us today in the first layer of the mundane egg. This matter, she continues, which according to the revelation received from the primeval Dhyani Buddhas, is, during the periodical sleep of the universe, of the ultimate tenuity conceivable to the eye of the perfect Bodhisattva. So once again, here is another reference to the fact that while these very, very early cosmic and pre-cosmic states may not be able to be thought upon or speculated upon, they can be directly perceived, and they are directly perceived, and that's why we have the teaching in the Secret Doctrine. Let's go to the next sloka in stanza 3 and see how H.P. Blavatsky discusses it. The root of life was in every drop of the ocean of immortality. So the first logos, the second logos, the third logos, the great breath is in its fourth aspect, the seventh layer of the mundane egg. And the ocean was radiant light, which was fire and heat and motion. Yes, the seventh layer of the mundane egg is that great central sun. It's this radiant light. She continues, darkness vanished and was no more. It disappeared in its own essence, the body of fire and water, of father and mother. So darkness, which is Mula Prakriti here, disappears into its own essence. This is because its essence is being seen as a stream of consciousness that swallows it up. What do we mean by this? Well, we have a threefold monadic progression through stages of light in this sloka. The first logos is the immaculate white disk. The third logos is the central point, which is a sphere of light. The seventh layer of the mundane egg is this great central sun. So when H.P. Blavatsky says that darkness, Mula Prakriti, is swallowed up in its own essence, she means that the immaculate white disk is radiating the third logos. The third logos is tincturing the seventh layer of the mundane egg. And this progression of light covers up the bare subjectivity, the uncovered subjectivity, which before had been unhindered in its viewing by light. But now light is what we see in the manifested world, and the view of this darkness disappears. Father, Mother here once again is a reference to Oyahu. It is not a reference to Mula Prakriti as the vibrating central point in the immaculate white disk. She continues with light and darkness on 69 and 70. Much of this has been covered before. Let's go ahead and take a look at the seventh sloka in stanza 3 on page 71. She writes, behold, Olanu, the radiant child of the two, the unparalleled, refulgent glory, bright space, son of dark space, who emerges from the depths of the great dark waters. It is Oyahu, the younger. So we have Mula Prakriti as the darkness, the third logos coming out from that darkness, and then we have Oyahu, the younger. That is the verbum kind of in a second stage of existence, who is Paramatman, the highest layer of the mundane egg, the great central sun. Then she refers to Quan Shi Yin, and she equates Quan Shi Yin with Oyahu. So we have the placement of Quan Shi Yin when we're reading the Secret Doctrine further down the line established here. Quan Shi Yin, in its primary aspect, is the seventh layer of the mundane egg. Now she does continue and say about Quan Shi Yin and Oyahu that he shines forth as the sun. Now this is true, and it brings about the sacred connection which has already been discussed between the great central sun in the seventh layer of the mundane egg and all of the solar suns in the fourth layer of the mundane egg. We see these solar suns, but behind them is the great central sun. She continues, he is the blazing divine dragon of wisdom. So we have Oyahu, we have Quan Shi Yin, and we have the great divine dragon of wisdom. And they're all equated with the seventh layer of the mundane egg. She has a beautiful passage underneath in which she comments on this particular sloka. She writes, bright space, son of dark space. So bright space is the third logos. Dark space is the second logos. Corresponds to the ray dropped at the first thrill of the new dawn. That means that the central point is breaking through the darkness, and we have the establishment of a new dawn, which is the new Mahamanvantara, the new great age, the new 311 trillion year cycle. And this ray is dropped into the great cosmic depths, spelled with a C, so we know we're dealing with the sevenfold mundane egg here, from which it reemerges differentiated as Oyahu the younger. So we know that Oyahu resides over the sixfold differentiation from Adi Buddhi, down through Mahat, down through cosmic Kama, and so forth, until we get to the Sthula Sharira of the Milky Way as we know it, in the first layer of the mundane egg. The new life, that is the new life here, is the verbum, the word in the mundane egg, as opposed to the verbum or the word that establishes the mundane egg through tincturing its head, to become to the end of the life cycle, the germ of all things. She continues, he is the incorporeal man who contains himself the divine idea, the generator of light and life. To use an expression of Philo-Judaeus, he is called the blazing dragon of wisdom. So in a sense, Oyahu is Adam Kadmon. That is, Oyahu contains the first three logoi, and he also contains the 7 layers of the mundane egg within himself. There's a lot to think about here, but we've reached a stage where H.P. Blavatsky is delineating each of the phases of developing cosmic life. She's now developed the fact that we have the Immaculate White Disk as the first logos. She's developed the fact that we have the dull black ground as the second logos. We have the central point as the third logos. We have Paramatman as the 7th layer of the mundane egg, as the great central sun. And she's made reference to this great central sun in the 7th layer working through the 4th layer of the mundane egg in the solar suns. This is where we arrive by the time we get into the middle of the 3rd stanza of the Secret Doctrine. Thank you so much. I hope to see you again.